And we live. Walk with me. Live. The very first one off the press. Let's do this like Papa and Brutus. Ooh-wee. We live, baby. We live. 313. 13 Supreme. We going in. We're going all the way in. Okay. Let's see what it do. Boo. Okay. Just making sure everything copacetic. Welcome, 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 family, to Walk With Me Live with your good brother, Sekond Sun. That's second with a K. S-U-N. Because I am Carolyn's second son. This is the very first Walk With Me Live minus my good brother Barleen. As you can see. Right there is the banner to the Walk With Me podcast, where me and my good brother Barleen sits down inside the press box and we talk about that knowledge of self, health is wealth, clone-free, metacostal talk. I need y'all to ease on over to the press box YouTube channel and subscribe ASAP. Me and a good brother Barleen, we go in again over there on the Press Box YouTube channel weekly. And that podcast series is also available in audio form. Got that? On Spotify right now. And will be available on additional streaming services in the future. But right now, we sitting down in the first Walk With Me Live session, 3/13, Friday, 2020, 13 Supreme. You see? We figure this is a good time for us to come on out and talk about it. Because we definitely need to talk about it. That's for sure. As you can see from the title, KNOWrona. KNOWrona. No Rona. Meaning no. Rona. Yeah, KNOWrona. Let's go on and, you see what I'm saying? Let's exercise our alchemist abilities in transmuting what's meant to be negative into a positive. How about that, family? So that's why we chose to title this live KNOWrona. Now you could add the word virus to KNOWrona if you choose, because we definitely want to feel the effects of a KNOWrona virus, meaning know thyself. Got that? Because that's when we give ourselves, our spirit, as it relates to our spirit, man, an opportunity to live in health, is when we're operating on the KNOWrona vibration. How about that? You see how we can do that as alchemists? We could just take a negative, again, what's meant to be negative, and transmute that energy into a positive. That's alchemy. That's God body. Boop. Don't forget to do that right there. Yeah, we're going to take our time with this one. Don't forget to do that. Subscribe, like, and share. Once again, I am your good brother, Sekond Sun. And you have entered the Walk With Me live space, where inside this space, we'll be delving into the curriculum of knowledge of self, health is wealth, clone-free metacostal talk. And when we say knowledge of self, we mean just that, knowledge of self, because there are laws that govern ourselves. Soon as we come out the womb, we are considered, or can be considered, all law manifested in the flesh form. So with that being said, we want to definitely make it our business to obey those laws. That's embedded in our DNA code. We want to obey them. We want to follow them. You see? This is what we mean by knowledge of self. When we delve into these universal laws, divine laws, natural laws, cosmic laws. You see? These laws that relate directly to our human body. There's a process to understanding. That's what we'll be speaking on tonight. We have a series going on over there, like I told you before, with the Walk With Me podcast, that you can see the visuals over on the Press Box YouTube channel. And like we said again, you can hear the audios from that podcast series on Spotify. I guess it's been maybe about 3-4 weeks now since we started that series. So this platform here on my channel is just will represent a extension or a constituent of the Press Box channel here on YouTube, directly connected to the Walk With Me podcast series over there on that channel. Here will be, once again, representing a constituent of that podcast series. So we'll just be delving into the same subject matter from that podcast series and going a little more in depth. Maybe, or maybe not. You know what I'm saying? We might have over here a totally different topic going on. But for right now, since it's very early in the game, we got to keep this 12 Powers of Man series going where we started over there. We've already delved into the foundation of the 12 Powers of Man, written by Charles Fillmore. And again, we encourage the family to pick you a copy of this up, order you a copy of this book. The 12 Powers of Man is definitely a ancient lesson, a lesson that has been taught over the ages, throughout the ages. And now we're sitting here at the top part of the fiscal year of 2020. And it's imperative that we keep this 12 Powers of Man knowledge alive. Again, KNOWrona. You see, the more and more we delve into knowing who we are as a people, the farther away we'll get from fear. Because fear cannot reside in a godly space. You see? Fear cannot reside in a godly space. We got to keep that in mind. What are we saying, Brother Sekond Sun? So what we're saying here is that you have to prepare, you see, that godly space. It's just like, since springtime is upon us, it's just like that springtime fever, you know? When we feel like it's necessary to do some spring cleaning, you see? That means we tidying up the bedroom, the bathroom, you know what I mean, the garage, the storage, etc. We have to liken our bodies to a house or a home. You see? And we want to rid our homes of negative energy, fearful energy. How do we do that? We do that by being still and know, like the scriptures say. Because the only way that one can know is to be still. It's a method. It's a process to knowing. And we know that knowing is half the battle. Because wisdom is putting everything in action, what you know. It's very important to know at this stage in our lives, because there is a outright war that's ancient, really. This is not a new war on humanity as a whole, to dummy humanity down to a puppet state. And when we say a puppet state of mind, see, what we mean is, like we've been discussing on the Walk With Me podcast series over there on the Press Box YouTube channel. What we've been discussing over there is how there is an ancient, outright war on humanity, again, to keep them dummied down and in a puppet state. Meaning, you have gotten to the point to where you really not thinking. There's no more thinking. You don't think for yourself anymore. There's a machine that has been created, like we've been discussing. You have to go over there if you're not caught up to the Walk With Me podcast series. You have to go over there and catch yourself up with what we're talking about. There is, again, an outright ancient war on humanity as a whole to keep them dummied down and in a puppet state of mind where you ain't even, you're not thinking for yourself anymore. This machine that has been created that goes back to 1776, you see, this mighty machine that's been in operation for centuries now has had enough time to really put a real good working, you see, a spiritual working now, because this is a spiritual warfare, a real good spiritual working on humanity, to where now you see the experiment has taken on 100% clone vibration and frequency, and is moving throughout what we call the United States of America, or in the what we like to say, in the wilderness of North America. There's an epidemic connected to, we got to get this and we got to know this, connected to post-traumatic slave disorder. What my auntie Joy DeGraw speaks about in her book. Post-traumatic slave disorder. The effects of this, we seeing it at its finest. If we, for I guess that's what we call it. At its finest. You see? And we say at its finest because it's amazing how the masses of the people can move like puppets. And again, there's been an experiment. You see? There's been an experiment that was cooked up 400 years ago on the slave plantation fields. And these are the results of that recipe that was cooked up, to where we're looking at today, to where the masses cannot, and of course we get it, those of us that have sat down and taken out the time to really delve into the curriculum of knowledge of self. When you go down there and get those lessons, you can pretty much, you can understand, why it's so easy, or how it's so easy for the emotions of the people to just, you see, be wishy-washy, just like we say, like you're on an emotional roller coaster. And the only way that this is possible is because somebody is not being still so they can know, like the scriptures say. See, when we say experiment, the experiment has been passed through genes now. There's a genetic code that has been interrupted to where the people have no knowledge of self anymore. The knowledge of self has been replaced with a 3/5 of a person frequency. You see, this is what's happened. And of course, there's no disputing it at this point, because we can see now clearly that I'm going to narrow it down to just my people, the melanoids, the so-called blacks of the Earth planet. Specifically, the ones in the wilderness of North America, specifically. Because we know now that this is where this political science project really took wings, as they say. Because this is a very ancient concept. This political science project here, you see, that took a people and disrupted their whole way of life. You see? And the disruption of the culture of these people has really taken a toll on the progression of these people as a whole. I'm talking about my people now, you see? Because again, when you come from a culture of ye are gods and have it stripped in all shape, forms, of fashion from you, and that ye are gods frequency is stripped out of generations of gods. And then after being stripped, the replacement of this God frequency is devilish. And it's devilish because it's unproductive. It's unproductive, orchestrated that way on purpose for it to be unproductive, degenerate behavior going on within generations. You see? Because these people that were stripped of the God frequency was caught up, tangled up, and tied up in spiritual warfare. Anciently, you see, as we can see. And again, the God frequency being stripped and replaced with a 3/5 of a person frequency. Because remember we saying that these people that were considered prisoners of war, some may call them slaves, but really there's no such thing, when we really delve into it as a slave. I mean, but a prisoner of war you can be. And we have been that, my people. Now the key to it all is that yes, we have been stripped as a whole of the God frequency. But law has it, universal law, has it set up to where you can think your way out of it. See how we going there? And thinking your way out of it requires you, not the enemy. The same individuals that saw it being important to them to strip you of your God body, your God frequency. It's again, it doesn't make logical sense to go to the enemy, you see, for a way out, or get your foot off my neck, etc. Please. That's not how it works. We already know that. Like the scriptures say, it's going to be wars and rumors of wars. The spiritual warfare is the main key to this whole journey down here on the earth planet. Your spirit man, how healthy it is or not, is the key. Because again, universal law has no respect of person. What are we saying? What we're saying here is that where there's a will, there's a way. You see? And that will has to be built up. That will has to be worked out. Like you physically work out to get in shape, etc. That will has to be built up like that. And the only way that the will can become strong and powerful enough to dig an individual up out of this devilish slump, you see, the only way that can be possible is through these 12 powers of man that we're speaking about. And these 12 powers of man, again, are connected directly to organs in the body. You see? Now you see how important this is? You see where we're going with it? Meaning that all of the power to succeed, to overcome, comes from within, not from without. Now, of course, there are some things that will assist one, you see, from without. You know, those things from without, meaning a book, maybe, a lecture, maybe. See, that's from without. A documentary, maybe, that one, you see, watches. That's from without. But the power within is connected to these 12 powers of man. Understanding is what we're dealing with tonight. Understanding. Again, these 12 powers are connected directly to an organ in the body, a major organ at that. You see? Because you know you got 12 major organs in the body. The skin being the largest organ. But you see, with the 12, we got the 12 major organs in the body. The heart being one, you know, the lungs, the brain. When we speaking about understanding, we specifically talking about the brain. You see? And we got to know that the brain is where our body's central banking system resides. That's where you get the concept of the banking system, period. It's from the brain. You see? Because that's how you pay tithes and offering, with the brain. You got that? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Why? Now, let's deal with that. Because when we're talking about powers, again, all power has to come as it relates to a human being. All the power has to originate here from the brain. Why are we saying that? Because natural law has it already designed to where what is the first part of the human body that's formed in its mother's womb? The head. You see? We all know that the head is the first part of the human body that's formed in our mother's womb. That's very important. You see? Divine law. Again, if we obey the laws that the universal God has already designed, you see, divine intelligence has already designed for us to go ahead and, you see, adhere to. Now that takes will. Going back to will. You got the free will to do wrong or right. You see? And to do right is to obey these laws. And again, if we pay attention to nature, we don't have to do a bunch of straining and struggling and straining. You see? If we really pay attention to natural law, like the universal God intended us to do, to begin with. There was a corporation that was created that came in, you see, and interrupted the whole, I'm going to say, godly attention span. There was a corporation created that took babies, you see, and took their birthright and turned it into 3/5 of a person. With that comes a way of life, comes a way of living, this 3/5 of a person frequency. And this 3/5 of a person frequency, see, has turned its back on natural law, godly law, you see. And again, if we pay attention to nature, this can't be disputed. The feet do not form first, they're last. The head is formed first in the womb and everything else after. Why are we saying this? Because there is law and order attached directly to the human body. You see? This is what we mean by get you a real good thorough knowledge of self. Because it's a specific way, you see, that you have to go about building a house. Remember we said you can liken your human body to a house. All the designs of that house come from your human body. The plumbing, that's your digestive tract, you see. We already know about foundation, etc. These different rooms carry different vibrations and frequencies. The master bedroom feel different than you see what I'm saying? The living room, etc. Why are we saying this? Because all this is important to know, because without the human body, none of this, the house, the automobile, the toilet, the computer, you see what I'm saying? The telephone, etc. The concept of a city. The concept of a city and the way it's ran, and the concept of a school, all that, these concepts come from the human body. You see, if there was no human body first, then none of these products would exist. Why are we saying this? Because we have to get that in our spirit family and know that divine intelligence, the universal God, saw fit to design this humanoid for a experience on the earth planet that no other creation can experience, not like the humanoid. That's important. Because what we're supposed to be doing is taking advantage of, you see, the concept of being human and the creative laws that come with it. Again, we cannot be creative. We cannot be in our creative mode or our creative, we can't be in a creative mode, a creative mode. We can't be in a creative mode, or we can't even think creatively if we are being tossed around like puppets, like strings on us. You see, if we just bouncing around like a puppet with strings on, we can't tap into this creative power that the universal God has awarded us with. What we do is disqualify the power by pledging allegiance to a 3/5 of a person frequency when we don't have to. Because again, the human body comes first. So with that being said, the human body is supposed to be the master of self, master of the 7 seas and the earth planet. You see how none of that sounds, there's no room for fear. And none of the in any part of that description, you can't find fear in there. When we saying master of self, master of the seven seas and the earth planet, master of the universe. You see? But of course, we have to know thyself in order to be able to even tap into these abilities. You see? Again, there is law and order in living. And if we obey the laws and abide by the laws that the universal God has created and designed for us, you see, if we can get into that, into obeying them, this is when, of course, a fearless lifestyle takes place. But then along with that comes generational wealth. Because if you gonna live it, then you see, the generation behind us will live it too. But we gotta turn the TV off. That's something we don't want to do. See, we scared to do that. We got to turn that TV off for a brief second because it's fear-based. We got to admit it at this point. You know what I mean? And we have enough independent media now in place to where we don't have to solely rely on the mainstream media to keep pushing a fearful agenda. The good brother Gano Grills, I gotta read this. The good brother Gano Grills, I saw a post of his from Instagram that piqued my interest, of course. And his post is going as far back as 20 years to 2000. And the top of it says, addressing fear-based agendas. That's what the top of his post say. 2000, Y2K is going to kill us all. 2001, anthrax is going to kill us all. Look how this machine work now. Watch this. I know y'all, I'm sure somebody done seen it. West Nile virus in 2002 is going to kill us all. 2003, SARS is going to kill us all. 2005, bird flu is going to kill us all. 2006, E. coli is going to kill us all. 2008, the bad economy is going to kill us all. That's when the whole housing market and all that, you know what I'm saying, which this is corporately orchestrated. That's what we got to know. 2009, swine flu is going to kill us all. 2010, BP oil is going to kill us all. 2012, the Mayan calendar is going to kill us all. You see? And we can go on and on all the way to 2020. You already know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But they each through each year, it's barely skipping a year. 2001, 2, 3, skip 4, went to 5, 6, skip 7, went to 8, 9, 10, skipped 11, went to 12. The Mayan calendar is going to kill us all. You remember 2012, they talking about this is it. Just like they said it was it for the Y2K. You see? And the only reason why we bringing that up is because it's relevant at this point right now. It's relevant. We have to say something. That's why the title of this live, you see, is KNOWrona. Know, meaning man, know thyself. That's what we're getting into. Again, the 12 powers of man. Charles Fillmore. Understanding is what we delving into on this live tonight. We're gonna get in and out. Understanding. Again, the scriptures say, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Remember, your brain has to be in a certain type of shape for you to have any type of understanding. And again, as a man, think anciently. What we know as the heart, anciently, our ancestors called that the blood pump, because it simply pumps blood to these 12, remember, different divisions in our body. You see how that works? Because remember, we told you we can liken our body to a house. We can liken our body to the concept of a city and how it's ran, or a corporation and how it's ran. With these, you have different departments, different department heads. You see, there's going to be a lead man or what you call manager over each department. You see how this working? How this corporate law mimics natural law? Because it has to. And these 12 different divisions that the heart is pumping this blood to, you see, is of course connected to these 12 powers of man. Now again, the ancients call what we call the heart a blood pump. And the cerebellum, which is heart-shaped, you can Google the image of your cerebellum. That's your mother brain, your cerebellum, your lower brain, you see, or your subconscious brain, you see. The one that is working 90 to 95% of the time, 24/7. You see what I'm saying? Your cerebellum, you see, is the lower brain. Your cerebrum is your higher brain connected to your pineal. But your cerebellum is the lower brain, which is representing the feminine and the mother frequency, which we know that the cerebellum is located in your brain. So as a man thinketh in his heart, you see how that works? Talking about that cerebellum, so is he. Now, why is that important? Because the cerebellum, once again, is directly connected to your subconscious. And your subconscious is at work at all times. So as a man thinketh in that part of his, you see, heart, or in that part of his brain that's in operation 24/7. It's important to train that subconscious. You see how that works? It's very important that you, going back to will and the 12 powers of man, will is one of the 12 powers. You got to have the will to train your heart or your cerebellum or your subconscious. It's on you as an individual to train it. Definitely not the enemy, because see, this is the issue here. When we say as a man thinketh in his heart, if you have been snatched spiritually out of your God frequency, and that God frequency was replaced with a devilish frequency, and a degenerate, you see, unproductive frequency, you see, if that has happened, then it's easy for you to have them strings on you. You see? See how this working? Especially when you have a machine that was created corporately. And this machine has all the tools and the resources to program you real good. You see, we talking about as a man thinketh in his heart. See how this working? We talking about all the way to the image of who God is. That's important. And don't let nobody tell you that it's not. It don't matter what. It doesn't matter what color God is. No, that's a lie from the pits of hell. You see, from the pits of lower self. Because imagery is everything. Understanding, you see, in order for you to get an understanding, in all thy getting, in order for you to get an understanding, you have to have that cerebellum, you see? That subconscious has to be purified through right living. That's how the purification goes on. Through right living, not riotous or devilish or unrighteous or degenerate, unproductive living. Not that type of living. That's not how you take your God body or your God frequency back. Because it's definitely in spiritual arm's reach for each and every living, human, breathing being. You see? There's some work that has to be done. That's what we're saying here. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Again, if you've been taken through these different corporate chambers, be it independent school district, the Sunday school, like we're saying, imagery is important. You know what I mean? If you catch up with the Walk With Me podcast series, you'll find out pieces of my story. You see? And I grew up, like they say, in church. You see? I grew up with what they called a saved mother. See, quote unquote. She's saved. You know, whatever that means. Saved from what? That's always been my question. But that's a whole nother subject. You see? But the imagery of God, it's important. Because if I'm growing up as a child, looking at the image of who someone is telling me is God, but that God doesn't look like me or my mama or my daddy, and we all melanoids, but I'm looking at a picture that's not nowhere near a melanoid, that's gonna start confidence issues right then. Confidence issues meaning you start right then looking outside of yourself as far as, you see what I'm saying, like in human form. You see, like okay, this. And when you see pale, then okay, you feel like, you see what I'm saying, that's God. And again, don't let nobody tell you that don't matter, because yeah, it matters when we talking about how the brain works. You see, we ain't talking about emotions here. We talking about human growth and development. That's what we talking about. Going from your mother's womb to high school. You see what I'm saying? That's what we talking about. How the brain is programmed on certain concepts, God being one, and what's important, etc., and what's not important. That's all of that is taught to us through this machine we talking about that was created, this corporate machine. Because it, again, has all the tools and resources at its fingertips. Because, again, you got to remember that we have no thorough knowledge of self. It's been stripped. We've been stripped of a thorough knowledge of self. So we don't know who we are. We think we 3/5 of a person. We think, you see what I'm saying? We come strictly from straight off the boat. No, when that's not so. So again, when we talking about getting a understanding, we have to go through all these different chambers, if you will, to break the code and come on out of there so we can live righteously, where there's no fear. Because again, we talking about as a man thinketh in his heart, you see, so is he. Again, we have to stay concentrated on this organ right here, the brain. Because remember, this is the first part of our bodies formed in our mother's womb. That's important. Because that means this is where all of our divine intuition will come from. And again, we have to train it. Because this machine, this corporate machine, is so mighty. See, there's some disciplines that we have to take, and what we watch, what we eat, what we listen to matters. So therefore, there's going to be some disciplines that we have to take, like turning that TV off. I know it might sound far-fetched for some, but let that goddamn cable go. Just let it go. You know what I mean? Again, we far advanced in technology now where you ain't got to have that, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's tell the truth. You really don't have to have cable TV. You know what I mean? Anyway, let it go. In order to heal, you see? In order to get to that place where we are in a know thyself frame of mind and not a 3/5 of a person frame of mind. You see how this working? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Right up here. You see? And whatever is up here, the body gonna follow. That's natural law. Understanding, and all that get an understanding. Now let's read just a little piece of this out of the 12 powers of man. Let's read a little bit of this. Reference to the dictionary shows. I'm in the this is page 36, and I'm in a chapter titled Understanding, because again, the 12 powers of man is where we're gonna start with this whole Walk With Me series. We have to delve into it and comb through it with a fine tooth comb. Got to comb through it so we can find out where our power really lies. It's within. And we all have the ability to liberate ourselves. But we have to know the law so we can obey the law. And that's where we are with this whole movement when we say walk with me. The whole Walk With Me movement is about man, know thyself curriculum. And in turn, that turned into, health is wealth. You see, clone free, metacostal talk. And when I say metacostal, like I said before, I was raised in the church. You see, and I'm one that acknowledge the fact that that is my foundation for spiritual and religious understanding. You see, and grew up in what they call the COGIC, the Church of God in Christ. So that's a Pentecostal, you see, that's a Pentecostal denomination. So that's the reason why I say metacostal. This walk with me movement, you see, is directly connected to the metacostal concept, meaning metaphysics and the Pentecostal, you see, the Sunday school that I got as a youngin', you see, merge it together. Because we using it both for our good. Once again, I'm not one to disregard the fact that I gained something from growing up in the church. I gained something from growing up with a so-called saved mother. You see? So that's where we get this metacostal talk from. Because metaphysics is what we need to crack the code to the whole Pentecostal concept or the whole Pentecostal denomination. Because the teachings is symbolic and they're allegoric. You see? So therefore, cracking the code, we have to use metaphysics and the metaphysical definitions of Jesus. The metaphysical definition of Eve and Adam and Moses and all of these characters in the whole book. That's what we use to decode what is really being said in the Holy Bible is metaphysics and metaphysical definitions, because each one of these characters defined a certain power. See, we got to know that. Each and every one of these characters in the Bible represent a power within the human body. You see? That's what we got to know. So again, this whole walk with me movement is related to knowledge of self, health is wealth, clone free, meaning I'm not a puppet, you see? And you're not going to tell me any and everything and get me nerved up and scared and fearful to where I can't even concentrate enough to manifest what I need to manifest for my legacy. You see, that's what clone free means. You see? Peace to the God. C. Scruggs. C. Scruggs. Peace be upon him, because he had the whole clone free movement. Definitely want to big him up. But yes, that's what we saying, you see. When we say clone free, is that you do not have strings on me, you see. And I'm not a puppet, and I had sense enough, you see, to ask questions. Because in all that get an understanding, you see, I got to ask some questions in order to get an understanding. And that's a fact. There's no way possible that I can get an understanding without asking questions. And the universal God say, ask and ye shall receive. So that's where the whole clone free concept come from. See, some questions has been asked and the universal God has shed the light down on the answer. Okay? Again, 12 Powers of Man, Charles Fillmore, page 36 in the chapter of understanding. Because again, we're working with this here. Reference to the dictionary shows the words wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and intelligence to be so closely related. See how that works? Wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and intelligence are closely related. So what does that mean? That means that brain area got to be on point. It cannot be vibrating on a 3/5 of a frequency. You see? On a clone frequency, a puppet frequency, and have true knowledge of self. You see what I'm saying? No understanding, no type of intelligence. If it is operating on the 3/5 of a person frequency. But it's obvious that naturally we were born with the capabilities and these powers in us. You see what I'm saying? It was already in us. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and intelligence. Knowledge comes, but wisdom lingers. You see? Solomon was famous for his wisdom. Jehovah appeared to him in a dream and said, "Ask what I shall give thee." God asked Solomon, "What you want?" Solomon replied, "Give thy servant, therefore, an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and evil." You see? You see how the good brother Solomon asks for understanding. He didn't ask for nothing material. Because we got to know that on this earth planet, there's two types of people here. One here for a spiritual journey, one for a material. And of course, there's a limitation to those that are here solely for a material journey. This is an example right here. When Solomon was asked by God in a dream, like, what you want? And remember, Solomon was known, that's what he's known for, his wisdom. Solomon told God, "Give me understanding. Give me an understanding heart so I can judge thy people, so I can judge people, that I may discern between good and evil." You see how that's important? Understanding. See? So you can have the ability to judge between good and evil, because again, it's very important to have a thorough knowledge of self so you can know who the enemy is. You might be one of the ones that's petitioning the enemy for some type of relief, when that's not logical. That don't make logical sense. You see? Now you need to be able to identify the enemy so you can be able to discern, like Solomon asked for, understanding heart, so I can be able to judge thy people and discern from what's good and what's evil. Again, if we as a whole are wallowing in the mud with the pigs, you see, that's why of course we're gonna keep coming out muddy. You see? Because again, you have the ability to distinguish who's good and who's evil? Because if you're relying on the enemy to tell you how to feel today, tell you what to think for the day, tell you what's the play, as the youngsters say, what's the play for the day. If you are relying on the enemy for that instruction, then this is what Solomon was asking for. Now, if Solomon can ask for it, remember we just told you, all of these characters represent a power from within you. So if Solomon can ask for it, if Solomon got the sense enough, you see, there's somebody out there just like Solomon that has that ability to tap into their Solomon and ask God for the universal God, you see, for an understanding heart. And remember how we just described the heart, the true heart, like the organic divine heart is the cerebellum. That, once again, that we call heart is the blood pump. That's what it is. It pumps blood. That's its job, to 12 different divisions in the body. Now, this cerebellum, you see, which anciently, like we say, you can pull the image up of the cerebellum and you can see how, you know what I mean, you can see the so-called shape of a heart, you know, what we know, this little symbol of a heart that we know of. You can see it outlined in the image of that cerebellum, you see. Now, what's important about that cerebellum is, like we said, it's the mother, it's the feminine, the mother part of the brain. So, of course, we know, like, mama always thinking and mama is always trying to put things together for the family, coordinate, etc. You see? We have the ability to program or train that subconscious to work in our favor. You see? This is what Solomon was talking about when God asked him, hey, came to him in a dream. Hey, like, what you want? And Solomon said, give me an understanding heart so I can have the ability to discern from good and evil. You see? That's important, because when you have the ability to discern from what's good or evil, you won't spend a lot of unnecessary energy on the part or the people that is promoting this evil. You see, you'll have the spiritual discernment to let them keep clowning. Yeah, just let them clown, because that's what they, you see what I'm saying? That's what they get off on. But that don't mean you have to participate in the foolery. Only way that you have the ability not to participate in the foolery is when you get a thorough knowledge of self, you see. And this is what Solomon, as we can see, was speaking about. You see, when he say, give me a understanding heart to where I can discern, you see what I'm saying, thy people. I can discern the good and the evil. I can see it to where that gives me the upper hand on my life. You see what I'm saying? Therefore, that gives me that gives me space. It creates space in my spiritual man to be able to tap into these creative faculties. Because there would be no blockage when you have the ability to separate good and evil, you see, because you already know. You can see through it, and then you won't even play the game. You see? That's what we focusing in on. That frame of mindset to where we're purifying our thoughts enough to where we have the ability to discern on a high vibrational level. And again, that gives us room to not be bamboozled. You see? Now let's read this last little part right here before we get on up out of here. We've been rolling. But it's all good though, because this is the very first Walk With Me Live. And we're going to work it out. And we're going at our own pace. Spiritual understanding. You see, that's what's important. Spiritual understanding. Because a lot of us, you see, as it relates to the 3/5 of a person frequency, if that's the only frequency that you operating on, you have no ability to see the spirit realm and how it works, and how, again, what Solomon was talking about, you're disqualifying your ability to discern good from evil when you're just solely operating on this 3/5 of a person frequency. And you'll constantly hear me say that. You'll constantly hear me say 3/5 of a person frequency, because it's real. You see what I'm saying? And it's very important that we identify the issue or the problem so we can fix it. And again, if you're solely operating on this 3/5 of a person frequency, the spirit realm is like oblivious to you. Like you have no idea about, you see what I'm saying, how you have protection in the spirit realm, but you have to activate it. You see, through your free will, through your willpower, is how you activate this spiritual power. You see? And again, if you're solely operating on the 3/5 of a person frequency, that means you only know the material realm, meaning you only know what you know. You see what I'm saying? You only know what you've been taught. Yeah, let's say that. If you're just simply operating on the 3/5 of a person frequency. You see? And that's dangerous, because however, well, let me put it this way. Whatever health level you see your spirit man is on, that's as far as the material, not, you see, the carnal, you see your natural self can go. If there's limitations on your spirit man, meaning you just operating on 3/5 of a person, meaning you have you're missing two pillars. One being your divine creed, that's who God is, where God is, what God is to you, and your nationality. Nationality is directly connected to your culture. How you supposed to live, what you supposed to eat, what you supposed to wear. You have national headdress, national, you see what I'm saying, a national way of dress, period, like what you wear. You see what I'm saying? What you celebrate, all of that is wrapped up in your nationality. You see? So if you are programmed on a 3/5 of a person frequency, you're lacking a ability to discern, like Solomon asked for. Because you're left with just your mind, body, and soul. And this mind, body, and soul, as we know, it has strings on it. And it acts as a puppet for this corporation that created it. You see? And again, if that's the only thing that you know, then of course you will be sick. You'll be fearful. Because fear, of course, is what encourages sickness. Fear. But God didn't give us the spirit of fear. Remember that? Ye are gods. But you have to be living like a God in order to benefit from these credentials, these godly credentials. That's inherently in your birthright, wrapped up in your birthright. Meaning it come right with you soon as your mama gave birth to you. Soon as you know what I'm saying, took your first breaths, etc. But you can forfeit all of this if you continue to not have a will to be well. You have to have a will to save yourself, because the corporation is definitely not on the list for saving you. The corporation wants you sick as you could be. Want your babies sick, your grandbabies, you see what I'm saying, if you got them like me, etc. Want your whole family, a generation of you sick. That's what the corp want. You see? But through your natural given ability to save yourself is how you see what I'm saying, veto that bill. You see what I'm saying? You got the ability to veto I want to make me a real good sick clone. See, that's how the corp think. And play these funny games, these old fearful, you see what I'm saying, fearfully constructed games with the people. Because they ain't nothing but games. And again, we got to have that spiritual discernment that Solomon asked for, to see through the good, to be able to see through the evil, and separate the good from the evil. So we can live in harmony with nature, in harmony with God. You see? All of that calls for a righteous way of living, not devilish. That's why we say that TV got to go out, man. It's too much, you see what I'm saying? We too far gone, family. That TV, you got to, you know what I mean? You got to do very little of it. You see? And like we're saying, we living in a day and age where technology is advancing so to where, you know, we have these independent media outlets now to where you see what I'm saying, where you can go and get fed something that you really need, that you could use. You know what I mean? And pass it down to the next generations. Let me read this last little part right here. Walk with me now. Walk with me. Yeah, we say we're just going to take our time with this one, you know what I'm saying? Because this is a very important time for us to really sit down and get ourselves right. We're in the chapter of understanding out of the 12 powers of man, written by Charles Fillmore. This page 41. Watch this. In idle wishes, fools supinely stay. Supinely. Supinely. Supinely meaning basically weak. So let's read it like that. In idle wishes, fools weakly stay. Replace the word supinely with weakly. Idle wishes, fools weakly stay. Be there a will, then wisdom finds a way. See that? Will. Got to have will. That's where your salvation is in your willpower. Be there a will, then wisdom finds a way. No one ever attains spiritual consciousness without striving for it. See how that works? No one ever attained spiritual consciousness without striving for it. The first step is to ask. See how that works? Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be open unto you. Prayer is one form of asking, seeking, and knocking. Then make your mind receptive to the higher understanding through silent meditations and affirmations of truth. See how that works? See, remember we said that you have to be still and know. That's why the author here is saying that after you ask and after you pray from prayer is one form of asking, seeking, and knocking. So after you pray, that means you done knocked, you done asked, you done seeked, so you can find. Now the author is saying, then make your mind receptive to the higher understanding through silent meditation. See, silent. Turn the TV off. See how that works? And affirmations of truth. Affirmations, that mean the word is God. That means you speaking. You have to speak. You see, whatever you talking about into existence. Now that's a whole nother conversation, because if you operating on a 3/5 of a frequency, 3/5 of a person frequency, see, your tongue, you see, you talking in a foreign language as it relates to communicating with God. Because 3/5 of a person, you see, that frequency is not connected to the universal God, you see, the organic God. See, that 3/5 of a person is connected to a denominational God. See how that works? Now, when we say a denominational God, where did that denomination come from? See? This was corporately created. This denomination, corporately created. You see, with a 3/5 of a curriculum. See how that works? Sunday school giving you 3/5 through this denomination. Not 5/5. You're not getting a holistic curriculum as it relates to knowledge of self in the Sunday school. See? See how that works? You're getting a denominational, which is partial, meaning like we're saying, I'm not dismissing my church upbringing. That's not what we're saying. Only thing we're saying is there's more to the story. You see? We just want the whole book. That's what Holy Bible means. Remember, holy means whole. So if I'm going to delve into a whole book or the holy book, that means I'm supposed to come out of there whole after I do my due diligence. Not partial. 3/5 is partial. Meaning, again, there is a limitation. You see? There's some things spiritually that I have no knowledge of if I'm only indoctrinated on this 3/5 of a person, or this, you see what I'm saying, this 3/5 of a denominational, you see, concept. Again, where it have my mouth, you see what I'm saying? I'm speaking a foreign language to the universal God. Because somebody has took my original tongue, you see, and the way that I communicate with God and manipulated it. Going back to the whole imagery thing. That's important. Very important. You see? Because if my brain is the most, you see what I'm saying, the most powerful tool that I got as it relates to, you see what I'm saying, my human body and how it works, if my brain is the most powerful tool to it all, that means it needs to be whole. In order for me to get holistic results out of life. Again, when we're talking about affirmations of truth, you have to know who you are. You see? The earnest desire to understand spiritual things will open the way, and revelation will within and without will follow. Let's say that again. The earnest desire to understand, remember, and all that get an understanding. Remember Solomon, what he asked for? He didn't ask for a mansion. You see? Because he already has some type of spiritual intuition to know better. Oh, God asking me, you know what I'm saying? He done came to me in this dream. He asking me what I want from him. See, it took spiritual discernment to ask for that, what he asked for. An understanding heart. Because we know that this heart, this cerebellum, this subconscious, you see, the mother brain is running the whole show. She stay busy at, you see what I'm saying? Orchestrating and coordinating. That's what mama do. So with that being said, we need to have mama in good shape. You see? That's what Solomon was talking about. He had the earnest desire to understand spiritual things. Now let's read it again. The earnest desire to understand spiritual things will open the way, and revelation within and without will follow. Look at this. In Daniel 10 and 12, it is written, "Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand and to humble thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words' sake." See? That's an affirmation right there. That's showing that Daniel had some type of meditation and affirmation of truth going on then, because God said, "I come for thy words," plural, sake. Meaning God said, I done showed up because you spoke. You used that power in the tongue like we told you had. There's life and death, you remember? It's power, the powers of life and death in the tongue. You see? So with that being said, I have the abilities to affirm things. But again, I got to be speaking in my organic language. I got to know what to be asking for and what to be talking about. See? In Daniel 10 and 12, it is written, "Fear not." And you go back to one of the Walk With Me podcast series sessions over there at the Press Box, the Press Box YouTube channel, and you'll see where we broke that down. Daniel, in the Hebrew, Daniel, Dan meaning judge or judgment, and Il, I-E-L, meaning God. Simply, that's what Il simply means, God. So if Dan means good, you see what I'm saying? if Dan means good, everything good we know is of God. So it's fair for us to say that Dan means good, or it's fair to say if that Dan, Dan means judge. Let me slow down. Or judgment. Yeah, let me calm down. In the Hebrew, D-A-N, Dan means judge or judgment. And Il, I-E-L, means God. Simply means God. So with that being said, Daniel would metaphysically be defined as good judgment or God judgment. So in Daniel 10 and 12, when it says, fear not, that's good judgment or God judgment talking. You see how that works? Fear not. And then goes on to say, for from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand, from the first day, when you made it up in your mind to set your heart to the frequency of understanding and to humble thyself before thy God, see, God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words' sake. Again, God is telling Daniel that, or good judgment, that I came because you spoke truth to power. You spoke these affirmations of truth, and here I come. But again, you got to be speaking in the right language. Your tongue has to be, you see what I'm saying, purified of this 3/5 of a person frequency, so you can know how to talk and what to ask for. Because your spirit man, you see, is the main theme here. Your spirit man needs to be in health first before the material self, you see, before anything material even takes form in your life. Material meaning, you see what I'm saying, your work. You see what I'm saying? Material meaning your home. You see what I'm saying? Food, clothes, shelter, etc. You see what I'm saying? Before all of that take place, your spirit man is designed, you see what I'm saying, to allow the material realm to be whole and not have to, as it relates to receiving or accumulating material things. You see what I'm saying? As it relates to that, the spirit man's supposed to make it to where you're not a slave to the stuff. Yeah, to this material stuff. Food, clothes, shelter, etc. You know what I mean? The spirit man was designed to be in health and operating on a divine frequency to where it allows the material self to not be raped. You see? Meaning you're not, the material is not causing the spirit man to be ill or sick. You see? Because again, the spirit man is what operates your natural self, like a remote control. So it's important to have that spirit man in good health. And how do we do that? Is we delve into the 12 powers of man and purify these different divisions or departments in our body. You see? So then after that, we are allowing our spirit man, you see, to lead and guide us in a divine way versus a devilish way. You see, a fearful way, because that's fearful is connected to devilish. That's lower self. That's not of a high vibration to be in fear. Again, there's only two fears that the human is born with, and that's the fear of loud noise and the fear of falling. All other fears are politically, that's what I'm gonna say, politically programmed as it relates to the wilderness of North America, what we call the United States of America, the court. You see, the land mass specifically, and the people own it. You see what I'm saying? This is really how they operate. You see, is on what we call a devilish or low vibration of a frequency. You see? And it doesn't have to be that way. We all have the ability, again, to heal ourselves. You see? Spiritual understanding. Creating me a clean heart. See that? O God, and renew a right spirit within me. See how that works? When we're talking about the heart, again, creating me a clean heart. See, this clean heart is what Solomon, you see, was speaking of. And this is where we here on the Walk With Me live, Walk With Me movement, Walk With Me podcast series over there on the press box and audio on Spotify. This is where we're talking about going. Creating a clean heart. Remember? Cerebellum. That subconscious. Creating me a clean one. Clean that 90 to 95% activity up. And purified to where that activity allows me a godly experience versus a 3/5 of a person, slave, you see what I'm saying? Clone, you see what I'm saying? Prisoner of warfare type frequency. This is what we're attempting to free ourselves from. When we saying, creating me a clean heart and renew the right spirit. See? The right one comes with laws. The right spirit. The right one come with laws that were divinely orchestrated. You see? For us to get out of life what we were divinely born to get out of life. See, we all have divine purpose. That's what Solomon was keyed in on. He said, give me a heart of understanding. You see? That's what Solomon was keyed in on. A righteous way of doing things. A righteous way of doing things is definitely without fear. You moving and grooving without fear. You see? And as we come down to a close, that's what we want to leave you with. And like we saying, we'll be delving into this whole knowledge of self curriculum, you see. Going full throttle. Definitely, you see what I'm saying? We smashing the gas on making it our business, you see, to be part of the movement of liberation. Walk with me. Creating me a clean heart. That's what we're going to leave you with right there. You see? Understanding, and all that get an understanding. That means, you see what I'm saying? There's going to be some disciplines, again, that you're going to have to take to get that understanding. Ask and ye shall receive. See, you get that right there. That law right there lets one know that there's no excuse for not knowing. You have no excuse, you see. Where there's a will, remember, there's a way. And we moving with will, because we got our eye on the prize, and we know that the enemy is not about to give up. Yeah, this is a spiritual warfare. This is spiritual warfare that's going on, and we have to get our spirit man in health so we can fight. And again, that spirit man is very delicate. So you have to make it your business to discipline yourself on what you eat, what you watching, who you talking to, what y'all talking about. You see, because Generation X, we got the work to do. The baton has been passed, and we got a work to do. So we got to get on it. Use all, I'm talking about everybody that's meant to be on the team. You see what I'm saying? We got to use them. You know, everybody come in and play their own natural roles. You see? KNOWrona. Remember? Is the title of this one. We just going into it full throttle. And all that get an understanding, family. You see what I'm saying? Ask and ye shall receive. Creating me a clean heart. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I'm detoxing. Places I used to go, I ain't going no more. You see? The things that I used to want, I don't want no more. You see? The type of attention that I used to want, I don't want no more. You see, we got to get into that frame of mind so we can liberate ourselves from bondage. And so we can, you see what I'm saying, as a whole, progress productively and pass Generation X I'm talking to. Pass the baton on to the next generation, our children, Generation Y. So we can do what we need to do out here. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Appreciate you sitting and listening. You already know what to do. It's YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. I am your good brother, Sekond Sun. That's second with a K. S-U-N. Because I am Carolyn's second son. And you already know the routine. Subscribe, like, and share. Because we about to, definitely pump these sessions out between this channel and the Press Box YouTube channel. You see, don't forget to tip over there as well to the Press Box YouTube channel and subscribe, because that is where I sit down with my good brother Barleen weekly in a Walk With Me podcast series that we do over there. And again, like we say, audio is available on Spotify at the present, and other streaming platforms will be added. For the ladies, for my sisters out there, we're going to ask you to go over there to Glowing Gems, where my baby, my daughter, my daughter number two, oh yeah, she's handcrafting women's jewelry. Yeah, handcrafted. Glowden's Gems. Glowden. That's Glodden. Gems. GEMS. You can find her on Instagram, Etsy, and Facebook. That's Glowden Gems. GLODENGEMS. Go over there and patronize with my baby. To all my sisters out there that's into, handcrafted jewelry. You see? And again, this is Walk With Me Live, the first Walk With Me Live ever on 313. It's Friday the 13th. 13 Supreme, you see? Yeah, 13 is supreme. That's what we got to know. Ain't nothing negative about that number. It's supreme. And we want y'all to stay tuned in to the movement, because we ain't going nowhere. We're going to keep pumping them out religiously. This is your good brother again, Sekond Sun, and I'm out. Until the next time. Peace.